Hello, I am Osgerby, one half of BarberOsgerby. I think design giving life, maybe saving lives, is one way of looking at design, saving lives or giving life. I think it's easier to answer the question about how do you give life to design, and I believe that good design has some sort of soul to it, some sort of personality. It really ought to live with you like a person lives with you, and you might choose it as you might choose a friendship. And I think it's our job as designers to try and imbue products with some sort of character, which ultimately gives it a life. Ooh. How can we make design do anything? Really, I think is probably the question. And how do you make design do anything? I think you have to think about what you're doing. If you think about it and you have an intellectual, thoughtful approach, you can make it do anything, and you can do anything with it. Design can solve problems. Again, I think it's so much to do with an intellectual approach, and I think it's a responsibility of us to really think about what the hell we're doing. And I think with enough thought and innovation, we can solve problems. I don't think we're going to solve problems by producing bazillions and bazillions of crappy products that you see here in Milan. But I think with care, thought, and intelligence, we can solve problems through design. That's the whole point of what we're here to do. Now that's a good one. It's actually our main objective to make the things that we design become things that are, I guess, a generation of heirlooms, or become heirlooms, something that people don't tire of, things that people want to keep forever, and hopefully in some way capture something about them that people fall in love with and don't ever tire of. Really, that's our main objective in the design that we do. I think the coming crisis for design is probably really what the coming crisis is for everybody, I suppose, and it's overproduction. It's a sort of global saturation of mediocrity, overproduced crap, and I think it's our responsibility to, in the words of Dieter Rams, produce less but better.
Hi, I'm Edward Barber. I am the other half of BarberOsgerby, and we're based in London, have a studio in East London. The key thing is to think about what you're designing before you design. I think the most important thing is that everything we design has to have a purpose and has to have a reason. The main thing is to avoid trend. As soon as you get involved with... No, I'll say that again, hang on, sorry. The main thing is to avoid trend, because as the word suggests, within a very short space of time, something is out of date. So if you can avoid trends and fashion, you're already halfway there. You have to think about people's lives and the way they use everything in their life on a day-to-day basis, and try to make things generally more useful and more effective with the amount of material that's being used to perform the functions. In 2030, I would imagine that there should be, if possible, no use of fossil fuels whatsoever. So any type of plastics, any type of transportation needs to be done in some sort of sustainable way. Yes, we do design responsibly, but we could be probably more responsible than we already are. And I think with every project that comes into our studio, we tend to focus on that very early on. It's a priority of our projects, which, being honest, in the past wasn't so much of a priority.